Yes, and welcome back. Can you all hear me fine? I hope you can hear me fine. That's great. My mic is here on. How's everyone doing? I think Steve's gonna come and give us a 5 minute, give himself in 5 minutes up for me. Big up to you. Hope you're all doing well. Welcome back to the channel. It's been a while since I've done a sat down proper live, not my plan thing on New Year's Eve. We've got Newcastle tomorrow. Who's excited? Not me. Anyone actually excited for the game tomorrow? Is anyone going to the game tomorrow? Let me know. I think a couple of people are going to be popping over, so we'll see if anyone wants to come on. Welcome, give me a shout. We can let you on. Big up Scott Colliver in the chat. Hope you're doing well. All my things have changed, by the way. That's not how it was before, but we'll keep it that way. Why not? Big up Sam Smith now. Desir Dogi is understandable to believe that his injury is down to pure misfortune as opposed to being down to Postecoglou's methods. Now, where's that come from? That smells of PR to me. But it is what it is. Yeah, Steve, I've sent you a link, mate. Always welcome. Big up Tony Sims. How you doing? Oi to you. Big up. That's me. Big up. Yeah, Steve's on his way. Good afternoon. I didn't buy StreamYard. I'm not paid for it, but it is what it is. No, didn't pay for it, but it seems to be like it is now. Let me see if things work, by the way. I don't think they do. My old stuff's here. Oh, yeah. I haven't upgraded stuff, so no, I haven't paid for a StreamYard. However, the icon has disappeared, so it is what it is. Big up, yeah, big up, Finn. How you doing? Well, I'm not paying for StreamYard, by the way. It's an absolute scam. StreamYard is an absolute scam. What I will do, though, is change it. I don't like this thing. I don't know why everything seems to have just all changed on... What did I have it like? That's quite cool. We'll have it or as block. Yeah, we had it as block before. We'll have it as block. It's called block on here. Don't know why. Yeah, big up, mate. Are you doing well? Big up to you. Big up, Mike Pepper. Big up, Kudos. How you doing? Yeah, guys, look. Let's talk Tottenham for a bit. We'll start with a bit of transfer stuff. We'll talk about Newcastle when Steve pops on. I think Ben's going to make a little appearance. He's just having his lunch. He's going to come and say hi. And then I am redirecting you over to Ben's channel. Guys, Spurs have been linked with. The window's been open for 3 days, 2 and a bit days. And we've been linked with 2 goalkeepers in Sam Johnston and what's his name? Patterson or whatever his name. I don't know anything about him. Hang on. Let me ban you. Get out of here, you absolute cretin. You're gone. There's always one dickhead that wants to mess around and be an absolute prat. I did suspect that was a bit of a troll account. Yeah, look, let's talk about Spurs in the sense. Sorry, apologies for that. We'll talk about Spurs in the sense of we're looking at goalkeepers when the manager said when Vicario got injured that we won't be getting a new goalkeeper. There is such a disconnect to this football club because some people say Ange buys the players, some will say that Levy buys the players, but there's some miscommunications in the middle of it all, right? There's miscommunication in all of it because the manager's saying one thing, but then the club are doing another. So if we want to sit in that philosophy of, well, Ange isn't buying the players and it's the club buying the players, for that premise, I'll sit with it. Why would then the manager surely would be told, look, we're not buying another goalkeeper. You've got to get on with it. The manager wouldn't come out and say it. This is why I feel like there's such a disconnect. Oh, big up Daigle, by the way. I didn't even see you pop in. Big up, my friend. Daigle, if you want to pop on, mate, you're always welcome. I'll send you the link if you want to come on, Daigle. Let me know. I just think there's such a disconnect. I'm not sitting here blaming Ange. I'm not blaming anyone here because the manager should. If the manager's going to come out and say, "Oh, by the way, we're not signing anyone," then surely that's come from above, right? That you don't make those assessments and those judgments unless it's come from above. But then now we are going for a goalkeeper. It doesn't make sense. And the thing is, but this is the thing, like, does he make it up? Or is there such a disconnect to this club where Ange doesn't know what's happening? What's that? Sorry, 1 second. 1 second. I just want to, someone's just sent me something. Let me just make sure that moron isn't, just 1 second. Sorry. Okay, yeah, it's fine. Ignore me. It's fine. Yeah, so back to sorry, I was just that absolute cretin that came in was just messaging on one of my posts, and I was making sure it was blocked. Like, that's the thing is it Ange making it up? Is it Ange making it up as he goes along, or is it that the club just don't know what's happening? And I think that's the big one for me. And talking of people that don't know what's happening, I'm going to bring what is going on at your gaff, by the way. How you doing, my man? Happy New Year, Steve-O.
Hey, I'm good, bro. Look, I'm dressed in all black like the fucking Grim Reaper.
You've just gone silent. I don't know if it's me or you.
That might be
I
you.
can't hear Steve anymore, but can you lot? I don't know if it's my end or your end.
I think it's your end.
I don't know if it's mine. It might be me. I think it's me. Hang on. I think my headphones just cut out on me.
Yo.
Yeah, I can hear you now. It must be my end.
Listen, man, I heard. Big up, Perchy, by the way. It's been a minute, bro. I'll be
been a minute, man. It has really. I hope you're doing well, man.
Yeah, I'm doing good. Look, I'm dressed in all black. I heard there was a funeral tomorrow, so
unbelievable. Unbelievable. I thought you'd moved to New Zealand. I thought that was what it was.
No, I just wanted to pay my respects because tomorrow, bro, I think it could genuinely
you're shameless.
What do you mean shameless? What do you mean, man?
You're right. By the way, I don't agree with you. You're as shameless as everyone in the chat because they're not even liking the stream, by the way. What is happening? We've got 8 likes. There's over 30 people or so that have been in here and not like. Smash the likes up, comment. Steve, I'll ask you a few questions, right? We were just talking about transfers and where I feel like that Spurs are just all over the place when it comes to transfers. And this is the point here. Like, I'm one for bashing the manager. I think he's shit. I don't care. I'll say it as I think he's shit.
Awful.
However, what I will say on this, Ange coming out and saying about a goalkeeper when Vicario got injured, he came out and publicly said, "We're not signing another goalkeeper. We're believing in Fraser Forster." Now, there's such a disconnect in the fan base. Some people saying that Ange is buying the players. Some people saying that Levy's buying the players. But whatever the answer is on that, then that makes no sense why the manager is going against them what he's being said. So, for example, I tried to get the logical explanation on anything. So at the time when Ange publicly said that, he must have known if Levy's buying the players. Let's stick on that premise. I don't believe it's all that, but
we'll run with it.
We'll run with it on this part. If Levy's buying all the players, then surely he would have told his manager, "We're not going with." If an injury, he would have known when the window's shut in January.
You're supposedly on the same page.
He would have gone, if an injury happens to our goalkeeper, we will use Fraser Forster and not buy anyone else. That's why we didn't buy one in the summer. Fine. Yeah. On that premise, then why would the manager come out and say that? It doesn't. Either he doesn't know, or he's just making it up as he goes along.
It sounds like poor. It sounds like poor. Sorry to cut you off. It just sounds like poor communication, poor planning.
It just doesn't make sense.
Yeah, and it doesn't make sense either.
This is where I've always sat with it, right? I don't want the greatest manager in the world. I don't think there's any point at Tottenham at this moment going to get in the Joses, the Contes as examples. I just don't think it works. I just want a manager that's honest with us. Yeah. I don't expect him to sit there and say that we were shit, awful, crap, blah, blah, every player, I'm going to, blah, blah. But I want a manager
You're not trying to have him be like a fan. You want him to be a manager.
I want the manager to come out and just say things like, "Do you know what? I don't know the answer right now. I will have to speak to the hierarchy on what we're going to do with our goalkeeper situation. That is a simple fence. Sometimes you've got to sit on the fence. I don't agree with it all the time.
Yeah.
But sometimes you've got to be diplomatic. You don't need to be one way or the other. Sometimes you've just got to say, look, we're going to assess the situation. I trust in Fraser to step up short term. If he's going to be the long term, we will definitely plan on that.
Yeah.
And now we're looking for a goalkeeper. When for me, you should be looking at a centre half. Go and get a centre back in. We're crying out for a proper defender, a number 6, a left back, anywhere like
winger, a right winger. Like you can go on. Yeah.
I just find it. Please tell me, is it Ange or Newcastle game? We don't need to pay attention on what other do to us. I believe that our style. Thing is, Sam Smith, I know you put fake things in. That sounds real. This is like there's a game that Sam Smith puts in, and sometimes they're fake. And sometimes
sounds like a Saturday Night Live skit.
It sounds about right though. But look, for me, there's links with Tomori coming to Tottenham. See, that's the sort of centre half I like that. But then I also look at it and go, well, we know how this manager operates because the second Romero and Van der Ven are available, the centre Dragishin, for example, gets slated, and there's some credence to it, but I feel a little bit sorry for him. I feel actually he gets played completely wrong. He has to play a ball playing centre half role when he's not that. He's no nonsense. Watch him when he's defending. He's brilliant defending in the sense of when he's not told to push up or when he's told to be a defender. He's good in the air. He'll win those from set pieces and stuff. When he's asked to play out and track back in the way that we play, doesn't suit his game. But I just sit back and I just think, what are we doing here? Like, I think that's the key thing. What are we doing here? You're as an outsider. I'll ask you as an outsider. What do you see as Tottenham's strategy?
I have no idea. I've never known your club's strategy. The only time it was somewhat close was with Pochettino. The problem with Pochettino, not even now as a manager, I think he's done. But at Spurs, I don't hold much against him. Y'all had a very strong starting 11. Yeah, good fullbacks. You used them correctly. Walker, Trippier, Rose. You had 2 center halves, Vertonghen and Toby and Yan. Yan Vertonghen and Toby Alderweireld. Solid, steady center halves. Well, more than just that, but they were excellent, and you knew their roles. That was good recruitment there.
Yeah.
Larry was a good goalkeeper for a while. You had a good midfield, Wanyama, Dembele, Dele Alli for a bit, Eriksson. So you had a plan there, but ever since those days, and then the only hole in your team though, or the thing that you've always kind of lacked was the right winger.
Yeah,
you have just Son on the left and Kane as a striker, but then the problem was there. Your strategy can't only just be your starting 11 under Poch.
I agree.
You didn't have a great bench. You had, what was it, the Argentinian fella who won the Europa League with Sevilla when he went on loan. What was his freaking name? Scored the Rabona goal against Arsenal.
Lamela.
He's an okay bench player, but if you know what I'm saying, you've never had a strategy.
But the problem is, Steve, what happens all the time at Tottenham, and the lads in the chat are watching will get what I'm saying. When we talk about a squad, and you're right, by the way, absolutely say spot on, all about the 11. But what we don't do, we never improve the 11 to make. Yeah. I've always said this, and it should always be like this. You've got your starting 11 that you go, there are best 11 players that play in each position. We're going to buy a centre half. So one of those becomes a squad player, better centre half in. You bring in another central midfielder. And this isn't something that you do. This isn't something that you do every time.
Yeah.
You get 2 or 3 at a window, 3 over a season, you get 3 or 4 or 5 every window. I'm not talking your £10 million players. I'm talking about you get 3 or 4 30 to 40 to 50 million pound players, and you spend 150 to 200 mil over a season and get 5 players in or 3 players in that make us better. And then the next season, if one of those players wants to leave, you go and get another one immediately. Look at the likes of other clubs that do that all the time. They do it all the time, and I look, and that is the problem for me. And I'll stand by it. This is the issue for me. We buy squad players because people are so in love with the likes of Romero and Van der Ven, and you can't. Well, if you buy a better centre half, then one of those can't play. I don't
That's
care.
the point.
That's
the point.
You have to upskill all the time. When
was the last time Spurs had a good bench, by the way? Because I've never looked at Spurs over the years I've been watching where I was like, damn, your bench has
because we
4,
always
5, 6.
Yeah, but
ballers.
Steve, the problem what we do, and we've always done this, is what you can't buy for the bench. And this is where I go back to my point.
Yeah.
You don't buy for a bench. Your bench is succumb with your squad.
Yeah.
Like, for example, as I always say, you buy a better goalkeeper, Vicario gets on the bench.
Yeah.
You buy a better striker, Solanke's on the bench.
By the way, you can have 2 strong goalkeepers. Just to cut you off real quick. You
I
can have
agree.
2 good
I agree.
goalkeepers. Real Madrid have Courtois and Lunin. Those are 2 starting caliber, high quality goalkeepers.
I mean, I agree.
Allison, Kelleher, Ortega, Pedersen, go on.
What you do, either you go and get one for your academy and you promote them to be a Kelleher, for example.
You could do that.
Or you go out there and buy a decent number 2 that you go and say, well, hang on, your job isn't to be number 2. Your job is to earn your place into the team.
Yeah.
Like, we had it at one stage with the whole Brad Friedel. When we had Brad Friedel, Hugo Lloris that time, I went, do you know what? They're decent keepers. Friedel was keeping, Lloris came in and Friedel was keeping him out of the team at the beginning of it.
Yeah.
But that's the thing, right? It's all about upskilling. God, what is up with me today? I need to get some water. Upskilling. We never upskill. We never look at a team and go, do you know what? We're going to buy better. Everyone raves about Bentancur. Another one example. Go and buy a better player than he sat on your bench. Go and buy a better player than Porro. Or doesn't have to be a better player than Porro, but can be someone that can do something different. For example, you're playing Newcastle tomorrow. We don't need 2 crazily attacking fullbacks. We're going to bring in... just trying to think of anyone that is a better defensive right back. Doesn't have to be the greatest player in the world.
Kyle Walker-Peters, let's just for argument's sake.
No, man. I mean, but you know what? I'm more talking about you go and buy quality, right? You buy quality. What we do, Spurs.
Let's say you got Livramento from Southampton before we did.
Livramento's a great example. Livramento's the one because he can play right back, left back, and you go, do you know what? He can play consistently. All this nonsense. Well, they won't play. That's why you have a squad. That's why
we have Trippier starting out of the blue all of a sudden over Livramento. Trippier still at Newcastle.
Yeah,
so that's an example of it. Yeah.
One Foyth didn't go to Sevilla. He went to Villarreal. My friend Daigle.
He won Europa there.
He did with the Europa
Why didn't
League.
he ever get a chance? By the way.
Babe, don't. Listen, I was actually one of those that said that One Foyth was one of those that I would have kept a hold of.
Good player.
Play right back. Like right now, in our squad, he would be brilliant in our squad. Can play right back, can play centre back, can play as a 6 if you need him to.
Yeah.
I think he would have been really good for our squad. But the problem is the issue, Steve, is not when we sign players. We signed good talent at times. Not all the time, but at times. I'll give you another example. Brian Hill. People in the chat will know my opinion on Brian Hill. For me, player that with bundles of talent, just was never given an opportunity playing correctly. He came in, he's been under so many. Now look at him at Girona and you go, do you know what? What do? They play him to his strengths. Play him to his strengths. And here's a question for you. Brian Hill technically is the best winger we have under our books right now. Technically, before people jump at that. Physically, he's not the most physical winger, but technical ability, he is something different.
Close control. Dribbling with the ball at his feet, speed, passing.
I agree, and that's the key bit for me, right? That's the worrying for me is that we sign players, and look, and as I said, people will moan about individual players going, "Oh, they're not good enough. They haven't had their chance." Blah blah blah. Well, when did Brian Hill get his chance?
Or Juan Foyth.
Really, or Foyth? Like, these aren't bad football players, right?
Yeah.
But that is a systematic issue at our football club. We just sort of we don't buy for a reason. We just buy. We go, well, there's a £5 million youngster. We're gonna get him.
Let's see if he's the next big thing, and we can sell him for $100 million.
Yeah, it's mental. But look, I want to talk about Newcastle. We're only going to go until 3 o'clock because that's when. Well, 2 o'clock for you guys in the UK, because my mate Ben is live, and I will redirect over to him. And make sure you guys are smashing likes and subscribing. By the way, we lost a mountain of subscribers over Christmas. By the way, because of YouTube decided to do a clear out, and I lost about 70 subscribers. What's that about? Again, doing me in big time. I was at 2,600 before Christmas, Steve. I'm now at 2,529. Now, what has happened here? Absolutely abuse of power, but it's fun. We're not here for subs. We're here for views. We're here for fun. We're here for vibes, man. Steve, Newcastle United having a real good vein of form right now. I want to say 5 of the last 6 1 or 5 last 5 in a row, something like that.
In the Premier League, it's I want to say
in all comps, I think it's like 5 or 6.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wins in a row. Yeah, in all comps.
Yeah.
4 in the Prem.
So Newcastle flying, because I was told at the start that Newcastle have hit a ceiling, hit a brick wall, or whatever you want to call it, and I went, hang on, once you get Isak back in form, you are getting goals. He's a top striker, right?
Oh, yeah. But Perchi, you know what actually the bigger thing is? And this is where I think the most important part of football is, besides first touch, midfield.
Yeah.
Once you sort out your midfield, things happen.
It's the engine room, isn't it? It's the engine room, isn't it?
Things happen and things can improve in defense once you sort out your midfield, and things can improve in attack. Who's been reintroduced to the team? A certain Italian brother.
Well, but your midfield three has got such good balance, right? Bruno Guimaraes, Joe Linton, and Tonali. As a three, that's dangerous, right?
I'll give you. They have. All of them are physical. All of them technically good. Some better than others.
I'd have every single one of them in our team. Every single one of them right now.
They're not fun to play against. They can pick out passes. All of them are a goal threat. Joelinton can finish as long as you don't have the 9 on his back. Bruno can finish, and Tonali can score goals as well. But the problem it wasn't even that just Tonali was playing. It was the fact that a lot of the time under Eddie Howe, Bruno G's was the deep line playmaker, and Tonali is more box to box. Eddie Howe recently switched it to where Tonali is more of the defensive midfielder, and Bruno is the 8, and he's box to box. And Tonali's a lot more comfortable under pressure. When he's receiving the ball, he can twist, turn. So he's just more comfortable in that CDM role. And Bruno can move the ball away a bit higher up the pitch, and it's fine because Tonali can mop up. Same with Joelinton. So that you're right. The goals are coming around because our midfield is sorted out. Because now Bruno's getting further up the pitch. He's combining with Isak. He's these layoffs. Gordon has hit great form as well. So for me, bro, the reason why we've been hitting great form recently and why we're the second form team in the league only behind Forest is that, bro, we've got the midfield sorted out. The roles specifically, because Bruno in the deeper role, there's some good games from him, but it's not this. You play your players in your best position to their strengths. So, yeah, Tonali is the CDM. Joelinton has the box-to-box 8, and Bruno's also a box-to-box 8, but kind of more forward thinking.
Yeah.
So that's been the big thing. And you're right. Isak will hit form. Murphy's doing decent. So
Anthony Gordon, another. Remember, I think you were there when I said it, by the way, when Tottenham were linked with him, and I got dogs abuse.
A while ago.
When we were linked with him before you lot got him, and I said I'd love an Anthony Gordon.
I wasn't sold. I was very wrong about him. I said just talent, but I'm like,
I said there's a player in there that you can unlock and get absolute potential from. You guys got him, and I was gutted. I went, watch him turn up good, and then look what's happened. Like one of those that you sit there, and I went, there's a player there that had a lot of talent in a really, really average Everton side. I went, Needs to go and play with better players. Like
Do you think we paid? Do you think we? That was my thing at the time. I'm like, because we paid a good fee for him. It was around
how much was it?
60. It was around 50 or 60. Yeah, it was pricey.
I would I for 60 mil, like, yeah, but
or sorry, 48 million US.
48 million
$50 million pounds.
48 million no, $48 million is about 40 million pound. 45 million pound. Yeah, the dollar's higher than the pound.
Is it?
It's actually closer than it is.
Oh, okay. I was wrong. Yeah, you're right. Damn. Yeah, actually, that'd be about 38 million. That'd be about 38 million pounds.
Yeah, same price, relatively same sort of price you paid Brennan Johnson for, give or take a few million quid here. And
yeah, on it. Yeah. And I think Brennan Johnson was more expensive.
But isn't that the thing though, right? Anthony Gordon's there, and Brennan Johnson was one that came through the door, and I've got so many examples with all that. Like, it just becomes frustrating. As a Spurs fan, I become really, really frustrated. Because look, I say this all the time. I say this all the time with Tottenham. I think we've got a good squad. I don't think we've got a great squad. I think there's players that can be better. But right now, we're not playing in a way. We are not weighing that should be where we are in the league. We should not be a team that has won 2 games in the league in 10.
Yeah, that's atrocious.
That's form I expect from Bournemouth, Crystal Palace, Southampton. If someone said to me, "Oh, Southampton have won 2 in 10," you'd gone, "Yeah, that's why they're going down." Right? Do you know what I mean? If I said, "Oh, Ipswich have won 2 games in 10," yeah, that's why they're going down.
They actually won 2 games in 5.
Yeah, no, but I know, but you get my point though, right?
Yeah, you're right.
Spurs have won, and a 10 games is a quarter of a season.
That's a trust.
Let's just put it into context.
Yeah.
10 games is a quarter of a season. Short, actually, it's actually not. It's 9.5, but you get the point, right? And it's
a good chunk of a season.
And this is the thing, like, I'm hearing about Man United being in a relegation
and Man City as well. Man City in the 1 in 12 or whatever.
Yeah, but Man City's I'll never use Man City as an example, right? Man City's an anomaly. Man City's against we've seen this happen with Tottenham over 14 months. Man City are having a bad moment. But
very bad. And guess what? Get back to my point about our midfield getting sorted out. When you take out a Ballon d'Or winner midfielder out of a team, it's a big impact. The midfield is and that's a big issue in your team, bro. That's a big issue in your team tactically, obviously.
I agree.
Also, what is your consistent midfield partnership? Ange is always switching it up. Because guess what? He's desperate.
Do you know what the problem is I think we've got a lot of midfielders that do the same thing. You know, like when you use Newcastle. Newcastle's the great example, right? You've got your Bruno, who's a bit of an everything, but are good at everything. You've got Tonali. You go, do you know what? Sit in the 6. You mop up, mate. You can distribute from there. Just distribute.
And you can progress the ball forward. Just go on those runs.
Exactly. And then you have Joe Linton, who you go, do you know what? Get further forward.
Just beat up people.
Be a bully in there. Be the bully in midfield, right? Yeah. Newcastle have that midfield where you go, they do different things. And then you can change it with players that come in. Joe Willock, not the greatest in the world, but will come in and do a job. Miley's stepped up now. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm using Newcastle because we're playing them next. They're my example. But this is where I look at Tottenham at the moment. I look at Spurs and the way that we are. And I go, we haven't got that midfielder where I go, yeah, you're the man. You're the man.
Staple. You're the staple.
But I am going to bring in the man, the myth, and the mod father. He's in. Welcome, Benjamin.
Hey,
how you doing, sir?
I'm good. I've just had a chippy lunch.
What did you have at the chippy though?
Oh, chicken nuggets because I'm a child.
Oh, honestly,
chicken
nuggets. But chip shop chicken nuggets with the fish and chip batter on them are delicious.
Chippy chips, man, are the best, man.
Chippy chips are the best.
They are elite. Look, Ben, I'll bring you into it. We're talking about Tottenham. It's always a really good example to talk about our football club. And this game coming up against Newcastle, Steve's jumped on for Newcastle
Sure.
representation, of course, but don't you sit back and look at Tottenham and their mid? And Steve made a good point about the midfield. Their midfield trumps us through no ends, and
over sure.
Even if we had our best three midfielders.
What is your best three? What is your best three?
I don't know.
This is
I
the
actually
problem.
don't know.
The problem is, Steve, it's not it doesn't matter who the players are. You could have the best
the manager. I agree.
You've got This is how Tottenham Hotspur works as a football team. We could have the best defensive. So if let's say we had Rodri, Ronaldinho, and have a world class number 8, whatever, Gerrard. He'd be playing Gerrard as the number 10. He'd be playing Ronaldinho as the number 6, and Rodri is. It's almost like he does it to spite us. He plays every single player out of position, and it's almost like it's on purpose.
It's mad. It's ridiculous.
But you always were talking about Brennan Johnson before, and I understand why people don't like Brennan Johnson. But there's one thing that Brennan Johnson is good at, and there's one thing that Brennan Johnson is bad at. He puts Brennan Johnson as far away from the goal as physically possible, when the one thing that Brennan Johnson is really good at is scoring goals. Yeah. So he plays him as a touchline winger. He's got one of the most
quick. He's also quick.
He's also quick. So he would be brilliant in a 2 up top. If we play 2 up top and Solanke dropped deep and Johnson went in behind to be that pacey guy, he could do that. He plays Son, one of the most lethal finishers in the history of Tottenham Hotspur Football Club. And that's not... And in Premier League history as well. He's one of the most lethal finishers in the Premier League. He plays him as a touchline winger at 32 when... I'm 30 this year and I don't have the energy to wake up half the time, let alone run down a wing every single game. That's not what Sonny's ever been good at. He's never been good at that. It's like he does it to spite us.
I don't think it's to spite us. I think he's just shoehorning players in. That's what I think it is. It's, well, if I can't play Son down the middle because then I have to justify why I'm putting a £65 million striker on the bench in Solanke. So I'm going to play
This
Son.
Is what good managers do. You say,
I agree.
I've got these tools. These tools can do this. So when you've got, and the funny thing is, Solanke thrives when he's got a strike partner.
Yeah,
I believe.
I agree.
Did at Bournemouth? Did he have a? I think he did have a strike partner at Bournemouth as.
Christie. He had Ryan Christie.
Ryan Christie was out wide.
In Iraola's system, the 2 wingers are basically auxiliary forwards as well. They go narrow and they allow.
Kluivert was actually the attacker.
Kluivert as well. Kluivert.
Yeah.
So Solanke would do really well if he wanted to drop deep. If he wanted to drop deep and played in a 2 up top, that would allow Brennan Johnson to get closer to goal and do what he likes doing, which is finishing. He's our highest goal scorer for that reason. We've got, when they're all fit, we've got a back 3. We've got a totally catered back 3. You've got a central defender like Radu Dragusin, who's not a good footballer, but he's very good in the air and he's very commanding when he wants to be. He's got no pace, but he's very commanding.
He's dominant in the air.
You've got Romero.
Dragusin's your old school defender, and he's your old school centre half that you don't expect him to be passing the ball out. You launch it forward with him, and then he'll get it out.
You got Romero, who loves going into Romero. We talk about when he plays for Argentina. He was playing in a deep line with Nicolas Otamendi, who's a leadership candidate. So he tells him, "Okay, Romy, you can go this way now." He loves going into midfield, so it makes no sense to put him in a back 4 unless you've got those fullbacks dropping in to give him that necessary cover. In a back 3, you would have Van der Ven. And you would have Dragusin, so you would be able to maraud forward with the ball. It's just, it's so simple. I know football is a really simple game. You don't have to overcomplicate. And that's what we're the most rigid, overcomplicated system that I've ever seen Tottenham, that I've ever seen. It's the most rigid and overcomplicated system. And not a single player. You need basically Frank Lampard's A-star in Latin to be able to understand this system, because it might as well be in a form of ancient language.
I don't even think it's a system at this point. And I mean, I don't think it's a system. And I mean it in the sense of, I don't sit there and go, okay, you lot know what you're doing. 18 months into a project or process, whatever buzzword you want to throw in there, these players should be adapted, understand what they're meant to do. I don't think our players have a clue what they're doing. I genuinely don't think they have a clue what they're doing.
Well, it's the proverbial. They know what's going to happen, but they can't stop it because they don't have the tools to stop it. When you play a very open style of football, Bielsa did it at Leeds, and Bielsa was very successful when his players worked. What did Bielsa have? He had a monster at the time, monster in Calvin Phillips. So when they were out of position, Calvin Phillips was like, all right, I've got this.
Yeah,
I'm going to defend. I'm going to launch the ball forward. To play any sort of attacking system, you've got to have that guy that only thinks about defending, because you've got to have selfless people. We hear a lot of the sacrificial lamb and the selfless players.
Yep.
We don't have that player in the team.
No, we don't.
We don't have that guy that says, boys, you go forward, I'm going to defend. You don't have that.
But all good attacking formations have always stemmed from a good support network.
Sure.
Good foundations. You look at the Barcelonas as a great example, right? Barcelona is the great example. You had fullbacks that weren't really fullbacks. They were attackers in Alba and Alves.
Yeah.
What did they have at the back? They had two of the best defenders in the world.
And the best midfielder in the world.
And the best midfielder at the time in the world behind him. And went, do you know what, boys? You lot go forward. They had Xavi doing a bit of both. It's in a bit in times and go.
But that's the thing, isn't it? That's when it comes to tactics. Because if you look at Thierry Henry did a thing really long time ago, and he broke down the way Barcelona played.
Yeah.
And in every good Pep Guardiola team, they've always got 5 people defending.
Yeah.
They can have as many people going, but as long as there's 5 at the back
to
cover that break, and what that 5 allows you to do is it allows you to create that you always have those 3 pressing to get that ball back as quickly as possible, and then you recycle the ball. You always got those 5 at the back. When you transition against Tottenham and Newcastle, because they've got 2 very good wingers and a very good striker in Isak, when you transition against Spurs, you've only got 2 people to beat. And that will always be the centre-backs. But there's no wall.
But Ben, the concerning thing is, and Steve, I'll bring you in on this one. Do you know what the concerning thing for me is? Is these tactics, if you want to call them that? I don't think they are. I think it's all over the place.
Yeah.
How easy managers find a way to beat us. How easy. And by the way, I'm not talking about the Guardiolas, the Klopps. I'm talking about the Hertzlers, the Iriolas.
Philippe Clement got a point.
The new fella at Wolves. The new fella at Wolves. No, I can't remember. Is the Brazilian fella?
McKenna got
McKenna. I'm talking about
managers.
We're talking about managers that have gone, this is easy to beat Tottenham. We have players like Anthony Elanga. No disrespect to him. He's an all right player. He's a good player.
Yeah.
He's an all right player. Coming out and said, we knew what to do.
Yeah.
We knew Tottenham weren't going to change. So we're going to do whatever we want to. Archer in the chat, Nuno, easy when we know how to beat Tottenham. This is easy. And the thing is all you have to do with Spurs is nullify those purple moments with Spurs and you're beating them. Because with Spurs, the one thing we're good at is having those 10 to 15 minute spells where we dominate everything.
You overwhelm.
We overwhelm them and we get goals. Well, there was a game where we went 3-0 up in like 15 minutes. We scored like 3 goals in 15 to 20 minutes or something. And we overwhelmed them. I can't remember who it was against. Someone in the chat will remind me. Where we had, and after I went,
Southampton, Europe. Southampton, Europe.
It was. It might have been. It was Southampton was one, but the other one was Aston Villa. Because I didn't think the scoreline was incredible against Villa, winning 4-1. But actually, I said, and people criticised me at the time, saying is that Villa game was one of those where we had a spell of 20 minutes where we dominated. I thought Villa were as much in the game. The only thing is they didn't nullify us in that real big spell, purple spell that we had.
We're very good in the first 20 minutes of the start of the game.
Yeah.
And the first 10 or so minutes after when we've got a bit of And this is the thing. This is also good management. You be aggressive for, let's say, 15 minutes of a game, then you hold off a bit and you try and control the game and you reconserve your energy, and then let the other team expel.
Klopp is doing a great job at that at Liverpool, picking and choosing when to
be aggressive.
But
we run out of steam, and when you've run out of steam, they bang sucker punch
all the
That's
time.
In-game management. That's in-game management.
Our in-game management is the worst in the league, and I mean that, worse than Southampton's. Because let's be fair, Southampton, whether or not we battered them, they basically killed the game in the second half. You could say we took the foot off a little bit, and actually we did manage it better. But this nonsense all the time that we have to, like, I use the analogy, and I'll bring you boys into it. I use this analogy all the time with Tottenham. We play like a team that are 1-0 down in a cup match with 10 minutes to go all the time.
Yeah.
There's never those moments where you go, do you know what? We're 1-0 up we're 2-1 up. We use Wolves. We're 2-1 up against Wolves. We've had a long Christmas period where we've played a lot of football with a lot of injuries. Let's take the foot off the gas. And whenever you say that now, it always instigates people going, what, you want us to play with 11 men behind the ball? No, I didn't say that. No. Just slow the game, pass it sideways a little bit, retain possession, make Wolves win the ball off us. Make Wolves score a worldie.
Make them sprint.
Make them sprint about a bit. Make them score a worldie to equalise. The one thing, and no one can deny this though, even if you love this manager, and I don't get it, the affection to this manager. The one thing for me, every team in the country looks at us and goes, we'll get a chance here. Even Tamworth will be sitting there going, we'll get a chance against Spurs. I fully expect Spurs to absolutely finish off Tamworth.
Any counter-attacking
any manager in this country that has to play Tottenham will be sitting there going, if we can stop them down the other end, we'll get a chance. Doesn't matter if we're a non-league side like Tamworth or if we are the top of the league in Liverpool. We'll get a chance against Tottenham. As long as we can sit back a bit,
just stay in the game.
Stay, exactly. If you stay in the game, and do you know what? That's what's scary for me against Tamworth. I fully expect us to beat Tamworth in the Cup.
Yeah,
is it next week? Is it this weekend?
12th. It's the 12th.
Next week. Yeah.
9 days.
Yeah. So next weekend. Yeah, sorry, because not this weekend. But do you know what the concerning thing is in that Tamworth game? As I said, I fully expect us to beat him. Is that the longer that's 0-0, the longer that's 0-0,
the doubt sets in.
The doubt gets in. Yeah. And do you know what? It wouldn't shock me at this moment now, with the way that we play. It wouldn't shock me Tamworth get a goal against us. Do they get a result? I genuinely said you bet on Tottenham to win with both teams to score. If you're a betting person, that's the bet in the Tamworth game. You'll probably get about 4-1 odds on Tamworth to get a goal against us. But we let so many teams get opportunities.
You don't keep clean sheets. You don't keep clean sheets.
We don't. I mean, we do on the odd occasion.
I think we kept 4, haven't we? We've kept 4 clean sheets in a year or something.
Southampton. Hang on.
We can get the stats up. It's 4 or 5.
Okay. Everyone in the chat. How many in 2024? How many clean sheets did Tottenham have in all competitions? I'll paraphrase this. All competitions. Put your numbers in the chat. Ben's saying 4. What are you saying, Steve?
I'm going to go 5, actually.
Ben's gone 5. Here we go. Steve, what are you going with?
Give me 5.
5 as well. Chat, guys, in the chat. Get him in the chat. So, I'll list them up because I know it's not more than 10, so we're fine. Southampton.
AZ Alkmaar.
Manchester City. AZ Alkmaar.
Yeah.
Man United. Karabag.
Yeah.
Everton. Wait, that's just this season. Hang on. We're doing a calendar year. 6, 7, Sheffield United.
Way. Already relegated.
8, Aston Villa.
Okay. So that's Aston Villa twice then, because we beat them 4-0. So 8.
No, wait, hang on. Burnley, 9 in the cup. 9. That's the answer. The answer is 9.
Yeah.
That's awful.
Yeah, and that, by the way, that's not just Premier League. That is all competitions in a calendar year, and that includes shit like Karabag and Alkmaar.
Coventry.
No, it was 2-1 the Coventry game.
Yep.
Like
Karabag should have had 5 that day as well.
I mean, if
they should have had 5 that
do
day.
Ben,
Yeah.
me and you talk regularly and stuff. How many
Yeah.
times do I say to you, if that team had a better striker,
They would have scored. They would have
I
scored.
feel
They could not finish that day.
If insert team had a better striker, they beat us. That is the concerning thing for us at the moment. That's how we play.
I mean, Rangers played us off the park. Yes, Rangers won 3-0 against Celtic yesterday. I'm not taking that away from them. That's a great result for them.
Should we I don't care. We should be battering.
We should be battering Rangers. We should be
we're a Premier League side.
We should
we're
be
a Premier League
If
side.
the Rangers will take off something off of Man United, I guarantee you that.
Probably. But this is
I think Spurs YouTube could take something off of Man United in a moment.
Yeah.
Stratford, Stephen goal. Perch.
Now you get me in sticks. If you need a goalie, get me. I'll stick it. I'll be in sticks. I'll be like the guy. Do you remember the guy?
Put you in goal with a chair.
Yeah. No, I'll be like that guy. Do you remember that? Oh god, do you remember that Sutton United goalkeeper that ate a pasty before the game? Do you remember that one?
Yeah.
Yes, in the FA Cup.
Yeah.
It was a pie. Paddy Power played him.
That's funny.
Oh
That's
yeah. Yes. You're right. Let's see. Big up the guys in chat. See what we've got chat saying. Taking this thing out of game doesn't mean exactly Philly. People don't get the comparison. The second when you say slow it down, everyone thinks you want to go back to 11 behind the ball. No, it's not how it works. Big up Leo. How you doing, mate?
Oh.
And Ben, there's this guy's quite cool. We like him.
Yeah.
We like this guy. Big up Robbie. How you doing, my friend? Hope you're doing well, my friend. You watching the final later? The darts tonight. Big up the darts tonight.
We're going to try and do a watch long, aren't we?
Well, I heard the chat going on about it. I'll see if I can manage it. Well,
Yeah.
we'll see.
I'll see what can happen.
Big up Kuva. Kuva, if you want to come on, my friend, you're always welcome. I know you're the beast himself, the legend. When I dream about Spurs, I never wake up with a clean sheet.
Yeah.
Spurs.
And not in a good way either. And not in a good
crazy,
way.
No, that's fucking crazy.
Yeah, 9 in total. Bang on. Sounds like a defensive behemoth of a team. Yeah. Oh, we're mad. Spurs are funny, man. Spurs are just funny.
100%.
And big up Phil, the leader of the Phil Army, the absolute legend himself. Guys,
this is a conversation we can talk about. Why are Spurs fans so black and white about everything?
Oh, it's mad. There's
why
nuance,
does it have to be one? Football is a grey area, and life is a grey area now. It's so grey because everything is subjective, and then there are statistics, and there are facts, and then there's way you interpret things, yada yada. But with Tottenham fans, you either have to be 10 men behind the ball, or no one in defence. You can't just have Pochettino. Good defensively. Best defence in the league under Pochettino at White Hart Lane. Best defence in the league. Amazing attack. Amazing attack. Why can't we have that again? Why do we have to have one or t'other? Why do we have to? It's.
Do you know what it is? And I'll give you my opinion on it. It's because the way Spurs have gone, they've kind of gone from each ends of the spectrum. We had Conte where it was. Look, let's be fair.
Conte's teams are very good to watch, Perch, but the problem is Conte had Dyer, Davies.
Oh no, I'm not begrudging it.
Emerson,
Jed Spence, we didn't want.
I like Jed Spence as a player, though.
So he didn't want him.
He didn't want him, but I think Jed Spence would be very good in a Conte system. The problem is he didn't want him, so he never got him in. I put that on Conte and say you could actually get something out of this guy. For Inter, if you've ever watched Conte's Inter team, they were great to watch. They were a very functional, very ferocious and lethal football team with players like Lautaro. You had Barella, you had Bastone. They were a good team to watch.
Lukaku.
I don't. Did Conte have Dzeko at that point, or did Dzeko come out under Inzaghi?
He might have been Inzaghi, actually. Lukaku was definitely there.
Lukaku was there. He made Lukaku a beast. So
yeah.
Lukaku was a beast because he fixed his diet, because there was something about Lukaku's diet that was getting him these injuries, like an intolerance, and he sorted it out. Again, that's what a top manager does. When you see a player, there's something wrong with them, you try and fix it and say, "Oh, okay, that's management."
I agree. I just think at the moment it's you're right though. Like, just sort of go back onto the topic of what we're saying is it's all about, well, I don't want this chaotic gung ho football, but I equally don't want us to be playing with 11 men behind the ball and just hoofing it and just hoping for the best. Like, there's a middle ground, right? And use a great example. Pochettino is a great example. Pochettino was a good example because we had one of the best defenses in the league, the best defensive in that one season. And then, but we also had one of the best attacking sides in it.
Yeah.
And look, and we can always change in what we do. Like, because all we're hearing, and I'm still hearing it now, one thing in 2025, can we all put to bed? Harry Kane doesn't play for us anymore.
Yeah.
We need to stop talking about Harry Kane. I'll be honest, it's one thing I'm so bored of. Oh, well, those managers had Harry Kane. Who cares?
Yeah.
He doesn't, like, we're in 2025 now. It's getting to that point when we talk about Harry Kane like
it's just like redundant.
He doesn't play for us anymore. He hasn't played for us for 18 months. What are we doing here? Like, it just becomes really, really silly. Like,
redundant. It becomes redundant, bro.
Completely
fucking redundant and irrelevant. Yeah. Crazy.
Perchy, fans confuse chaotic gung-ho football with attractive football. This is an attractive football. No one can tell me that we play attractive football. It is all over the place for me. All over the place. But as I said, the key thing for me is we should be a well-oiled machine. Look at all the players in that 11 that is playing. How many of them were here? How many of the 11 that is probably going to play against Newcastle were here last season? Let's have a look. Ready? Newcastle, the Geordies. Let's find it. Right. The predicted lineup. Who was here last season in that 11? Fraser Forster, Pedro Porro, Radu Dragusin, Jed Spence, Pape Sarr, Yves Bissouma, Kulusevski, Johnson, and Maddison. 9 out of 11. So Archie Gray wasn't here, and Solanke. We don't exactly know the 11. That's the one that the app's predicting will be it. So 9 of the 11 were here last season. So they should know how we play.
Yeah.
And so it's not like, for example, we've gone and bought 11 new players that are still learning how to play it.
Yeah.
We should be an oiled machine, but we don't. We look worse than last season.
You don't even have to be an oiled machine, Perch, but there needs to be some resemblance of an idea. You need to say, okay, I understand this idea. It's a tangible idea. And you can tell.
It don't even have to be something that you like, just identifiable. That's it. That's something identifiable.
It's a tangible thing. You can see it by results. If the results are, either plateauing or maybe look like they're about to increase, you can say, okay, the idea, it still might not be fully oiled, but you can see where it's going. But with Tottenham, it was win, loss, win, loss, win, loss. Following then went bang. It was a full drop. I agree. At the moment, look, we're at a stage now where I've always, and Ben, you know my thoughts on this. I don't know if Steve does. I know I've spoken to him about it, but the balance, right? For me, we're going to talk about the manager now. You know my opinion. I said you sack him now before we have a chance to play in these big cup games, or Europa League, or don't bother. Sack him at the end of the season because. And this is my theory. I think this manager will last once he's out of everything and the cups are all done and all that lot. Yeah. For me, I'm at that methodology of
Get rid of this guy now. I think he's crap.
Yeah.
He's shit for me. Get in someone now that you gives us half a chance against Liverpool. I still, regardless if I think we're going to beat Liverpool, I don't think whoever's in charge at this moment will beat Liverpool over 2 legs. However, I would have half a chance if it was another manager. Because this manager is one of those, one of these is that sort of thing for me where it's, anyone, Ryan, big up, mate. I know you're a good mate of mine. Name the manager. How many do you want? Give me a number and I'll list them.
Yeah.
Give me 5, 10. I can list. No one can tell me that we can't get a better manager than this guy. There's better managers out.
It's one of the things people always say, but I don't want Ryan Mason. Why do we have to have Ryan Mason? If we appoint Ryan Mason, that is on the football club for being lazy, because there are so many managers that could work as an interim for a certain amount of time with experience. Why do we have to have
Maurizio Sarri?
I will hang on. I'll give 10 managers that are available that we should be as a big club like Tottenham. We are a big club. We're not an elite club. We're a big club in the financial sense.
6th biggest club in the country, if you go by history.
Financially. Right. 10 managers. And I'm not talking, I'm ignoring elite managers at this point. We're not getting Jose's, elite. The teams in the big teams, we're not getting. 10 managers, right? Let's go for 10. Iraola.
Yeah.
Silva. McKenna. Frank. In the Premier League, I'd even have Hertzler. I think he's a good manager. I'd get Michel from Girona. I'd get Claudio Giraldez, who's at Celta Vigo. That's my outlook. If you watch Celta Vigo, they play some of the best football in La Liga with one of the smallest budgets. I'd have a look at. I'd say Gasperini. I personally wouldn't. I think
Gasperini's too old. He's 67.
I personally wouldn't. But if he was on the thing, I'd have him. I don't think he would come to us anyway. 2 more. We want 2 more managers in the league.
Go for
Michael Carrick. I'd have Michael Carrick at Middlesbrough. I think Michael Carrick's doing a fabulous job at the moment. And finally, I'll have
Pierre Sarge at Lyon.
Yeah, the Lyon manager's doing good bits at the moment. Yeah, I'll have him. I've not seen enough of him to judge him, but I'll take your word. I'll take Steve's word on anything. So when I hear about Terzic, look, Sava's putting a few in it. Palladino, I'd have Terzic, Howe. I'd have Eddie. I don't think Eddie Howe.
I like all of them except Terzic. But yeah,
I'd have Terzic. He's better than this absolute guy. This guy's awful.
Is.
People scoff at Graham Potter, but he did a really good job for Ostersund. He did a really good job for Brighton.
He's a good coach. He's a good coach.
He is what Tottenham needs at the moment. A coach, someone that's going to coach players in their right position. Yes, he might not be a long-term sort of thing, but 2 to 3 years of him coaching the youth players wouldn't be a disaster, because at least he would be out. He would at least be able to get the players properly coached for the future manager taking a coached unit and then start managing them better. You could, and this is why I despise the word project.
I agree.
As I said on Danny's show yesterday, big up Danny. When if let's say you're on a building site and your foreman's doing a crap job, if you sack the foreman, the project doesn't change. You get a new foreman, and they've still got the blueprint of the job, and they continue it on.
Ben, this whole Ben, bang on. By the way, bang on. Ryan, I'm going to pick this absolutely apart with you in 1 second. Just you wait, my good man. Lovely bloke, but I'll just rip this all open. What I will say on this, on what you say, is bang on. By the way, if I'm in charge of 10 people at work, and they go, this guy's doing an awful job, and they sack me, they don't sack the other 10 people, and bring in a whole new thing. This is the point. We need to get out of this notion of process, project, phase. When did phase 1 become a thing in football? What's that about?
Yeah.
You come in, you do a job. If you're good, you stick it out. If you do bad, you get someone else in. It's PR, and the one thing that's really starting to piss me off. I'll be honest, this is starting to piss me off. Well, look at what Arsenal have done. That's the bearing of not understanding. Yeah. Arsenal haven't won anything in this project.
Yeah.
So why should I trust a project that isn't winning anything?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? But Brian, I just want to pick this apart and then we'll carry on with the show. Do any of these managers take us to any sort of success? No. But nothing at the moment at Tottenham takes us to that level.
Forget about success at the moment. We can't even win 2 games of football in a row.
That's the thing. Let's go a month without losing a game of football. Then let's start talking about success. For me, success this season is not losing in a month. Having a month where we don't lose a game of football. Because we lose every week.
Consecutive games.
And that for me is process, project, all that propaganda's nonsense. If a manager's not good enough, whether he's been here for 2 months or 20 years, what's the point? Get him gone. Why are we keeping him? But what's the point? If we aren't getting relegated, we aren't getting success. What's the point? The point is you've still got to. So basically, what you're saying from that point of view is we keep Ange, and I know your opinion on it, mate. We keep Ange because we're not getting relegated. With Tottenham Hotspur, there's still a modicum of standards we need to have at this football club.
Yeah.
Do I think that Iraola coming in means that Spurs are going to win stuff? No. But what it does do is at least you go, okay, let's start building blocks. This guy's got to a position
again.
This guy's got to a position where there's no foundations at this club. We're losing games. My point is Ben, you know my opinion on this. I'm nothing against Ange as a manager in a sense. As a person, as a manager, I think he's awful. But I don't. If he went and proved me wrong, I go, do you know what? Give him more time. But every time I go, give me an opportunity to go, do you know what? This guy gets it.
Yeah.
Doesn't do it. And it becomes a cycle. Unfortunately, we're in a position now, and again, you guys know my thoughts on this, is Spurs at the moment, and Spurs fans specifically are in a position where we're burying our heads in the sand. Well, because we've got crap owners means that it's acceptable to have a crap manager. That's not how it works. And the way I've always put it in that perspective is we have had better managers, not better as in standard. Pochettino came in and did a good job, right? And he became did very well. I'm not going to use the word successful because he wasn't successful, but did very, very well under Daniel Levy. So my point is
again, Poch's team that first year was Yunus Kabul, who was awful. You had Hugo Lloris was very good. Hugo Lloris was a very good keeper, but he was a brand new keeper coming into this division. And he also had Brad Friedel was the goalkeeper when Lloris was already there under AVB. Excuse me. He had players like Yunus Kabul. He had players like Etienne Capoue. He had some awful players, and he had to get up that absolute dire squad. A lot of that rotten core from the Redknapp and the AVB era, because that was a team that was still sort of spiraling out of control. That it didn't have Gareth Bale, because the team was focused around how can we get Gareth Bale in the final third on that right wing so he can just score from 30 yards. That was the entire premise of the team. Get the ball to Gareth Bale, and that's what that's what cost AVB his job. That's what cost him his job. And then Sherwood took that over, and he had players like Adebayor in the team, and Adebayor was a mercenary. He had to completely and utterly gut that team to make it a functioning unit again, rather than give the ball to a player and hopefully they score. So these players could be coached into a unit. We have got for a certain system, we could make this team work. But the problem is we refuse to go for a certain way, which is what you go with the tools you've got.
everyone in the summer said we had a great window. Now everyone's pivoted to saying that we wasn't back. Which is it?
Yeah.
I could pull up comment after comment. Do you know what? I had a little look through the other day on just old videos because I was on YouTube in the summer.
Yeah.
But I had a little flick through channels, just a collection of Spurs YouTubers. Oh my God, Archie Gray's going to come in and do phenomenal. We don't need another midfielder because we've got Archie Gray and Lucas Bergvall. I had people telling me, don't you worry, Dominic Solanke's going to cook.
Leo's got a great question.
Yeah, that's the point. Yeah. Would you entertain having Ange at Newcastle?
Oh my God, no.
Exactly. But this is the thing, right?
Explain from a rival fan standpoint.
Yeah.
Because I want to coach. I want
more football than any of us put together. The floor is yours.
He sets up. The risk doesn't outweigh the reward at all. Sometimes it works. Sometimes you do beat up teams 4-5-0 or whatever, but that doesn't happen more often than you get beat or you draw to teams that have poorer quality than you. You're easy to beat at the worst of times, and you're very susceptible to getting beat at any time, even if you're winning at the best of times. There's no defensive coaching going on. Your midfield he doesn't know your best midfield. He doesn't know how to delegate roles to that midfield, even if he knew his best midfield. He doesn't really like good players, Brennan Johnson and, Werner and those kind of guys. He co-signs them by playing them. I don't think he's an incomplete manager. He's incomplete. That's the best way to put it. He has one way of playing with so many holes and like chinks in the armor that you can easily bro. He is an incomplete manager, bro. There's so many holes.
Yeah. Leo, we haven't seen Ange do it. He's won it. Let's be fair. Let's be. This is not me disrespecting other leagues. This is not who I am. He managed Celtic, which is it's actually the biggest. It's one of the biggest gaps at the top than ever.
Yeah,
let's be fair.
And
Celtic,
they spend 60% of the league's budget on transfers.
60 exactly.
Oh, yeah,
I love how my stats go around. By the way, that was when I dug up 60%. 60% of Celtic's transfers take up 60% of the league. That says it all. He managed in Australia and Japan. Again, no one's disrespecting him, but they're not big leagues. He's now coming to what some people say, I won't, the best league in the world. With
even with take that 60%, Man City spend a lot of money on players, but Man City don't spend 60% of the Premier League budget on players. Yeah. So to get into that position, you would need Newcastle's budget or former budget before FFP deliberately got rid of Newcastle. You'd need Newcastle's budget, Man City's budget, and Chelsea's budget combined.
Yeah.
You'd need those three teams' budget on players combined to spend that much money. The difference between spending power in a league.
But this is the thing, though, right? When we say he will cook what? He hasn't actually, like, I don't get it. I watch us play and get beaten every week, and people think that all of a sudden this manager's going to change something. Like that for me is what's balmy, right? That's what's balmy. We watch us what we're doing. We're losing every week, but somehow we think the manager's going to do something better. Like this, I don't get it. Like look, tactically, we're one of the worst tactical teams in the league. I'm not arguing against that. I think we really are terrible.
Yeah, bro. Here's the biggest red flag coming from a rival about your manager. I look forward to playing Spurs. I look forward to, and I'm not the only one.
Everyone does. Every team does.
Bro, Tamworth.
I said this to Graham. I wish I said it to Sava because Sava would be repeating it because he still says my line about reinventing the wheel. I said to Graham when he came here, I think Perchie was in the room. He might possibly have been in the room. Who knows? I said, if we play a team with good wingers, we are roasted because, like Sava posts the video, the picture, the gaps that those fullbacks leave behind for someone like Anthony Gordon. That's like a day off for him because he has to expel so much energy to create that space, which he can.
You're playing to the strengths of the other team.
Yeah, exactly.
There's another tick.
He doesn't need to use his. It doesn't need to use his brain to get into that unless we suddenly play 10 men behind the ball.
There's just space to exploit. That's the problem. He doesn't play to the strength. Ange is a manager. This is the worst thing. He plays to the weaknesses of your team. And he plays to the strengths of the opposition.
It's this point of the problem is the manager has now become like a lot of the fans where it's head in the sands moments. I'm just going to do what I know I'm going to do, and I'm going to stick to it. And initially you go commendable. Now you go, what are you doing?
Because it doesn't work.
Do you know what it is like? It's like going somewhere constantly. And you're getting the same results, but not, you think, oh, well, this time. Do you know what it is like? Ange is similar to me with his tactics, like a compulsive gambler.
Manager.
No, like, oh, piss off. Oh, you're out of it. You're out. See you later. Good night. Don't slag my football manager skills off. That's warning number 1 for the mod father for that one. That is unacceptable. That was unacceptable.
Sorry, I had to do it, mate.
That was good. I like it. But it's a good one. I like it. It was good. But do you know what it is for me? He's like a compulsive gambler, like a gambling addict. In the point that they go, oh, this next time I go to the casino, I'm gonna win this time. But hang on, you've been all year. You've been all year, and you've lost
thousands and thousands. Yeah.
Like it. Exactly, man.
I say it to his face though, and I call him out on it all the time. I genuinely think, and people, some in the chat might not like it. This manager is the worst manager in the Premier League. I genuinely like.
Awful.
I actually was going to say second worst, but they've actually sacked the worst manager in Russell Martin. I thought he was the worst manager, and now they got rid of him. I genuinely. My thing is Levy has now become. And no, I'm not against this, by the way. So before people jump at me with what I say, Levy's become the scapegoat for Ange's terrible tactics. And by the way, I hate Daniel Levy. I can't stand him, want him out of the football club. But he's not the reason we're losing all these games. He isn't the reason we're losing. He might be the reason we're not winning trophies.
Yeah.
That I'll accept. He's not the reason why we've lost 9 league games this season.
Yeah.
He can't. That isn't the reason we've lost 9 league games this season. He's the reason we're not winning trophies. I grant that.
He's the macro, like you say, Perch. He's the macro problem.
He's the macro problem. Ange is the micro problem. But it's easier to deal with the. It's easier to deal with the micro issue. You're not going to get rid of the macro issue, unfortunately. I hate to break people's dreams, unless something changes very quickly in the state of the football club. He is going nowhere.
And as much as I want to blame, again, I have to say this. I think some people have accused me of not being Levy out enough, despite the fact that Stel said it the other day. If all the people that turn up at the protest, every protest I can be at, I'm there. I don't like the guy, but this manager has a worse points per game ratio this season than Christian Gross, and we all laugh. We all laugh about how. One of the things when you talk about the Levy out argument. And people say, "Oh, do you remember Spurs in the 90s? Do you remember Spurs in the 90s? Do you remember
win 2 FA Cup?"
Yeah, for sure. We won an FA Cup and a League Cup in 91 and 99, respectively.
Yeah.
This manager has form worse than the worst manager we had in the 90s. With 90s, Tottenham is here. It's Oasis are back. Tottenham are shite. It's there. We're in the 90s. Oasis are here, and Tottenham are playing crap. It's all Noel Gallagher's fault. Everyone goes to Noel Gallagher's Instagram and Twitter and blame him.
I
blame Noel Gallagher.
Do you know what though? And I say this all the time, man. I say this all the time. We can blame Daniel Levy, as I said, for us not winning trophies and not putting us in that top level. Can stand by that one. I stand by it. But you can't blame Daniel Levy for not buying players, because he has, maybe not the best ones, but we are not the 11th worst team in the league. I'm not having it. And anyone that sits there and protects this manager, fine, protect him. I don't mind.
There's only one reason to protect him, by the way. There's only one reason.
What?
It's so that you end up in the Newcastle situation where you're a literal relegation candidate, because that's why people didn't fuck with Mike Ashley. He took over the club in the 2000s, and we immediately, once Shearer left, once all the guys, Given left, once everyone, we got relegated within a year or two of his ownership, and then got promoted back up, and then we're struggling, got relegated again in 14-15, got promoted again, and then struggle. So you have to either enter that stage, and Ange will bring you there. Don't worry. If you kept Ange the whole year, bro, you would be like a 15th place team.
I want to just bring one thing up. When we say the Ange cult are more focused on Levy than the manager, no. I'm not allowing that one. Do you know why? Because the same people that were loving this manager were saying how great this transfer window was in the summer. Unfortunately, the Ange cult, whatever you want to call them, those are the flip-flops. So in the summer, we're saying Ange has been backed. I've got the screenshots. It's brilliant. I love receipts. I love holding receipts. Ange has been back.
We said this last year as well. We said this as well last year, Perch. We said the squad wasn't good enough.
I agree.
The squad wasn't good enough for that December period. That winter period, when you're playing 3 games in a week, and it's always at weird times, Tuesday and then Thursday, and then this day, and then it's a very, very difficult period. And you can see we were the 20th best team in the league in December. Out of all 20, we were the worst.
We need to the first point, as I said, stop talking about Harry Kane. The issue isn't scoring goals at Tottenham.
I don't want to. It's true and not true at the same time. Pochettino didn't have a Harry Kane. He built a Harry Kane. He had to start with Adebayor. He had to mold Harry Kane into that player, and he didn't get the best of Harry Kane didn't come until after Pochettino left, which was Jose Mourinho. Jose Mourinho was the guy that made Harry Kane world class. I think Harry Kane was in that sort of.
But the Kane argument is
the moment Mourinho came in, Harry Kane went from being one of the best strikers to being the best striker. So Poch didn't have he didn't have a world-class player in the team, but he built those players. But just because you don't have those players doesn't mean you can't make a functioning team. The team's got to function, which gives the likes of the best players to sit on that pedestal or to sit on that perch, to pardon the pun, to sit on that perch. That perch has got to be stable, and then that allows the quality players, the artists, to stand out.
But we need to get to this point where we're not losing games because we've not got Harry Kane. We're losing games because we're leaking at the back. Let's be fair with it. If we didn't concede as many goals, we'd have a lot more points. We scored plenty of goals, right?
Yeah.
I mean, Leo, let's be fair, there is people that will blindly defend this manager through thick and thin. I will stand by that one. No matter what.
This isn't unique to Tottenham, by the way.
No. Oh, no. This is very much a football thing in the modern era now, whatever you want to call that. Like, that's not just, there is people that will blindly defend a manager through thick and thin, even though we're walking through. But there's people that would keep managers even though they got them relegated. Like, let's be fair. But for me, as I said, the Kane argument, I think it's a null point. I don't think it's a real point for me. I don't think it's a real point. I think because, as I said, for me, but Why are Van der Ven and Romero getting injured all the time? Why?
Right.
There's got to be we can't just go, oh, it's just bad luck all the time. It can't be just bad luck that Romero, Van der Ven,
especially when you look at the injury history he had at Celtic as well, the hamstring injuries he had at Celtic. I mean, they said it yesterday. I think Adrian said it on. I think it was on Sean's that we only have we've had 9 hamstring injuries this year because Van der Ven's had 2. This person's had 1. We've had 9 hamstring injuries this season. Hang on, 8 or 9 this season.
We've always had injuries. Sorry, apologies. We've always had injuries. Not to the level we have at the moment. There is no reason.
Newcastle had bad injuries last year. I think Newcastle had like 45.
You do realise
Newcastle had 45 separate injuries last year. That's an injury crisis.
Hang on. No. Regardless of injury crisis, or whatever you want to call that, we have 6 hamstring injuries. Name me the last time Tottenham had 6 hamstring injuries. That is a direct cause on the tactics we play. I don't care what anyone says. Why did they have one at Celtic? There was a blog by a Celtic fan that said about now that it feels like all their players are available. We're literally finishing in 5 minutes because Ben's got to go live literally in a minute. So I would put guests on, but at the moment we're only going to go for 5 or so more minutes. So, but for me, we have 6 hamstring injuries. Can anyone tell me the last time we had 6 hamstring injuries? Because I can't tell you that. Like, listen, an injury, something that can be unexplained and unlucky is if you get 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 injuries and they're all different injuries. One's because of a collision injury, one's a training injury, one's a hamstring injury, one's whatever. Like, you've got a collection of them. When you have a sample size of the same injury, for me, that has to be explained by tactics. And then when you do a bit of digging on the internet, because it's great, the internet, because it tells you stuff in the past.
Yeah.
Celtic fans worried about injury problems, and the manager publicly saying, my tactics, my training methods are hardcore. That has got to be a situation that can't be unexplained.
It's the same issue that Felix Magath had at Fulham. Remember Felix Magath at Fulham and he took them down, how bad they were? Very similar. Very similar. Did basically in-game intensity, but in training. That's not good.
Bro, there's a conversation at Arsenal right now about the way they overplay Saka too much. The way that Rice and his injury history before at West Ham and now at Arsenal. You have they bought injury prone play. Like, so this isn't just we're picking on Ange here. Like, this happens. Some managers, this is man management, and this is working with the sports science team and all the medical team and whatnot. This isn't just, we're picking on Ange because y'all don't like him. No, there's clearly a direct correlation causation thing.
As I said, it's burying your head in the sand if you go, oh, it can't be. Like, do you know what it is? I would understand it if someone went, oh, look, it could be a factor. I get that is being a little bit more balanced. It's going, it isn't. We've just had injuries in the past. That's not an answer. Like, if you go, do you know what?
There is definitely a case for injury. I think 30% of the Tottenham Hotspur medical system is outsourced. I don't think that should ever be the case, but we've never had this many players out in a couple of years. Yes, you can say players like the injury that Bentancur got at Leicester when he really badly fell over and he did I can't remember what
that's not on Ange. Exactly.
That wasn't under Ange, but that was a freak injury.
That's a freak accident.
The Matty Cash injury, that's not on the manager. That was a freak injury.
That's what I mean. That's what I'm saying.
And it's very similar muscular injuries.
That's what I mean.
Going, look,
Ben, that's exactly my point, right? Exactly my point. If, for example, you have a game where 2 players get clattered by the opposition and they get stretchered off, God forbid it doesn't happen to players because it's horrible saying it. You go, do you know what? That's a freak accident. You can't put that on a manager if that happens.
Yeah.
But when players are going down with hamstring injuries constantly,
Yep.
That you have to sit there and question.
Screams fatigue and overusing your muscles, which means acid builds up your muscles, which means you're more likely to get injured.
Yes.
Yeah, I agree. Look, we're going to wrap up because Ben, you've got to go live now.
I've got to go live in a minute.
You shoot. I will. I'll send people over to you guys.
Cheers, Pat. Cheers, everyone. Steve, lovely to see you again, buddy.
Big up, Ben. Make sure, by the way, when we do redirect, you go over and then you're subscribing to this man. This man should be on 1,000 by now. Should be on 1,000.
One day. Cheers, everyone.
He will get there. Look, we're gonna just finalize it. Look, I want to just say thanks everyone in the chat. Look, differing opinions in the chat is where it's at. I'll debate anyone. Brian, I'll message you privately, my friend. We have a little one-to-one. We'll do a one-to-one YouTube thing if you want, man. Much love. Listen, I don't mind. I don't mind people if you want to support the manager. I don't mind.
Makes good conversation.
It makes good conversation. But what I'll always do, I will lay factual information down on the table and go, you can't dispute facts. Factual information. Yeah. As I always say, I stand by it. Facts over feelings. I feel like this manager's going to get good. Doesn't wash me. He will he do good. Look, Steve, thank you. By the way, thank you so much for coming on, my friend.
Thank you.
Absolute pleasure having you on as always. Guys in the chat, thank you very much. Make sure on your way out you're smashing the like button. And later on, we're doing the final of my series of Perchy to Glory is going to be on. We've had 41 likes. So thank you so much. Guys, on that note, man, much love. I will leave you with Benjamin over on his channel. Go and support Ben, one of the nicest creators out there. Steve, final words from you, my friend?
Yeah, I can't wait to play Spurs. My prediction is 4-1 Newcastle. It's going to be a fucking bloodbath, I fear, for y'all. But I'm looking
there you go. Guys in the chat.
Prediction.
Peace out. Much love.
Peace. Nice.